This is a trigger warning. If you are easily triggered by content where children are, and unfortunately I have to use my own wording around this, otherwise YouTube won't let me post this video, are triggered by stuff being done to children, things they should actually never experience, this video can and will trigger you, and then it possibly isn't for you. So if this is the case, please skip this video. Otherwise, if you feel like you can stomach this, I would love if you could hear me out. Why am I saying this? I'm currently reading the book The Lost Boys of Bird Island. This book is described as a non-fiction book by Minnie, a former police detective, and Steyn, an investigative journalist from South Africa. So this book was taken off the shelves only 2 years after it was published. And the reason for this is due to allegations, the worst allegations made in this book, and it could not be proven. So we have previously gone through chapter 7 and 8, and I'm going to start at chapter 9 now. And before I start, if you want to skip this next part, just check out, I will leave a timestamp, and then you can just skip forward. This is me just reading this book. I watched a YouTube video regarding this book, just so interesting, and I decided to do my own investigation. So I have 3 other videos that you can go and check out where I've read previous chapters of this book. I've also made a video discussing the first part of one of the characters in this book's life, so you can go and check that out and give me your opinion there. I'm going to post the next part very soon. So like I said, this is just me reading a book. It's not me saying that I agree with any allegations made in this book, and it's not me saying that I disagree with any allegations made in this book. So the next chapter is chapter 9, and the name of this chapter is Looking for Wingnut. And let's get started with it. I scanned through hundreds of headshots in the police photo bank looking for someone who might fit the image of the jug-eared man. I'll call him Wingnut on the screen. But the search leads me nowhere. I can't find a match. It's time to change my modus operandi. Stuff this Wingnut for the time being. First, I need to pick up Uncle Dave. Although I've never met him, I know where to find him. Igor mentioned an address when I interviewed him in my office. Okay, so when this boy was interviewed, he actually knew the address of this man, and this doesn't really say anything. So if it is a known man in town, which this Uncle Dave definitely is, his address is known basically to anybody and everybody. So this doesn't really say anything, but it also does, because why does this random boy know this guy's address? They did mention that he took the boys to his house, so I still don't know if he is or was married. I think I will get to that as we go on. The house belongs to a certain Dave Allen. He'll lead me to Wingnut, I'm sure. Dave Allen is well known in police circles. He's a police reservist, holding the ranks of a lieutenant. He also heads the police underwater diving unit. In real life, he's a businessman. He runs a Guano Project on Bird Island. Guano is just a fancy word for bird and bat shit, which makes a very rich fertilizer because of its high nitrogen, phosphate and potassium content. It is highly sought after, and you can make loads of money from it. So if you want to, you can go and check out. I'll just leave a link here for my video that I did on Dave Allen, and you will get all the information you need of his earlier background, including how he come to become a police reservist and what type of businessman he is. And then he was also a very good diver, apparently. I'm definitely going to pop in on Uncle Dave, but first I call my friend Tommy Bell, the dog handler who assists the diving unit when we required. Okay, so this is interesting. Tommy Bell, and I wouldn't have known this before, but Tommy Bell, the dog handler who assists the diving unit when required. So Dave Allen also leaded the diving unit and this Tommy Bell. So it's definitely a name I also want to keep in mind. Because, with this book, we can't really take anything that's written in this book as truth. We have to question everything, especially because it was taken off the shelves within 2 years. But on the other hand, we do have to question everything and try and find out if there isn't some truth behind it. And maybe everything is not the truth, but geez, you won't write a book if there isn't some truth behind it. But anyway, let's continue. I'm definitely going to pop in on Uncle Dave, but first I call my friend Tommy Bell, the dog handler who assists the diving unit when required. He should know a bit more about the man I want to visit. How's it, Tommy? Max here. I want to ask you something. Shoot, Max. Do you know if Dave Allen has an office in town? I need to talk to him about a minor matter, so to speak. A telephone number would do. Dave's not in town right now, Max. He's on the island. I'm expecting him back on Friday. We're going to do some diving on the weekend. Anything I can help with? No, mate. Not to worry. Nothing serious. I can wait. Anyhow, I'll give you his phone number, work and home, Tommy offers. I hang up after jotting down the numbers. I am feeling irritated. I hate it when an investigation stalls. Okay, so this was a very short chapter. That was it for chapter 9. And I definitely want to keep this Tommy in mind because he's a friend of Max, but he's also working with Dave Allen. So that's an interesting position to be in. Okay, so the next chapter, chapter 10, The Beacon. I'm planning to hit Dave Allen's residence later this afternoon. I got it through the grapevine that he's returning from Bird Island. My regular partner is in Pretoria at the time, so I asked Gordon Lamastra to accompany me. He's been with our unit for a couple of years now, and he's reliable and trustworthy. We head for Allen's house, each driving our own unmarked police-issued vehicle. Gordon has an appointment elsewhere later in the day. As we pull into the small holding containing a freestanding house, my mind is cast back to my childhood, and suddenly I realize I know exactly where I am. I've seen this house before, years ago, when my Hungarian stepfather used to entertain our family with a drive along Schoenmakerskop Road on summer Sunday mornings. And I think that was a thing because when I was still young and in the house, my family also did the Sunday afternoon drive-bys. So I think it was definitely a thing. I remember the outings vividly, but I never enjoyed these rides because I knew how things would go once we got back home. My mom, my 2 sisters and I simply sat tight-lipped, occupied by our own foreboding thoughts. On those trips, the road seemed to be never-ending, stretching for eternity. Maybe my mind was wishing for this to be the case. Bushes, lines, both sides of the road. I always kept an eye out for this house, which stuck out like a sore thumb among the lush greenery. It was like some kind of beacon, an assurance that this trip was still going to take quite a while. That thought was pleasing, comforting in a way, against the background of my 2 sisters gnawing their nails while my mom sat nervously in the front seat, her fist tightly clenched. Okay, so this wasn't my experience at all. For me, it was always fun, and we always sang songs. I don't know if some of you did the same with your family, but it seemed like this Max had issues of his own and trauma of his own from his own childhood. And that's a lot of times that happens in these cases. People that has their own trauma, they end up being people like policemen or psychologists or like in a position to care for other people. After a lengthy straight, the road meanders gently to the left, and then there's a steep decline that allows one to see the sprawling blue ocean in the distance. Huge waves disintegrate into layers of white foam as they crash into the rocks at the culmination of their journey. I suppose this view would be considered beautiful by most passerby, but not to us. It meant a step closer to the hall of pain and misery. For the immigrant bastard that was my stepfather, it was closer to his hour of pleasure. The road eventually culminates into a T-junction. Turn right and you'll end up in Seaview, another beautiful part of my hometown's coastline. Turn left and you're heading back to the city. He always turned left. In order to erase the thought of what was inevitably going to happen later, I always tried to count the number of fishermen on the rocks below as we made our way along the narrow road back to town. Eventually, we'd make a quick stop at the roadhouse where my stepfather bought ice cream cones for everyone. Heaven forbid how I hated those ice creams. The look on the Hungarian's face as he watched us consume those delicacies made me sick. I could see the fear and tension written all over the faces of my mom and sisters. I hated myself at that stage. Okay, so this is going south very quickly. I am actually not sure what he's hinting to, but this feeling in my stomach is getting worse with every word that I read. There is nothing worse than being totally incapable of helping others when they so desperately need you. I was only a child. My two siblings were younger than me. A span of 2 and 4 years respectively separated us. My mom took the major brunt of the violence, mostly in her attempts to stop the maniac from raining further blows down upon us. Once he started his beatings, there's no way to stop him. So it sounded like he was physically abusive. I, for a moment, was thinking it would go in a whole other direction. My biological father was a drunk who abused marijuana. So laid into my mother, beating her terribly at times. She divorced him when I was 6. I never saw him again until I turned 18 and graduated from the police training college. I dully sent him on this way. I had no feelings for him. He apparently died a drunk. Mom swapped him for the Hungarian in the hope of a better life. It never materialized. He had grown up in communist Hungary during the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. He witnessed the traumatic death of his mother at the hands of Russian troops. In his flight to escape arrest by the commies, he was shot 3 times in the back. The arsehole survived and was shipped out to South Africa by the International Red Cross. My mom married him after my dad left. The rest is history. All of this comes flooding back as we arrive at Uncle Dave's house. This and so much more. The case I'm working, involving grown men abusing underage boys, touches a deeply painful and still raw nerve for me. It's not something I talk about, but I think about it a lot, and it haunts me. Okay, so there is, if I would think, there is some sort of other types of abuse that also happened to him, not just physical. It's not something I talk about, but I think about it a lot. And it haunts me, so I wonder if he will share it with us in this book. It's 1972, spring has arrived. I love this time of year. No more winter, wind piercing through my flimsy school blazer and thin cotton shirt, biting at my upper body until my skin starts to burn. Purple bluish coloured knees sticking out from a pair of school pants testify to the icy cold conditions served up during the Port Elizabeth winter. And this discoloration takes place each morning during the daily trek to school. It's a depressing period for me, but as winter passes, my mood tends to lift. Okay, so in this part of the book, it seems like he's actually taking us back to his own childhood, so we might find out a little bit more. A week after my 12th birthday, I'm in high spirits. School's out and I'm enjoying a 10-day holiday before the start of the 4th and final term. I'm sitting on the stoop of the Harper family's home. They moved into our neighborhood approximately 2 months before. The kids are twin brothers, Bryce and Mickey, age 17. Their younger brother, Freddie, who's the same age as me, and their sister Gina, who is closing in on her 15th birthday. I've got something going for Gina. When I'm in her company, I experience a feeling that is difficult to describe. It's a make a person feel good feeling, a feeling that tells me that girls are good for boys. Hey, are you playing or not? A kid calls out to me from the backyard of the Harper's residence. A couple of youngsters from the neighborhood are involved in a game of cricket. Maintaining my position on the stoop in the presence of Gina, I howl back, I'll join you guys later. Gina and I are involved in a conversation that I hope will never end. The nature of our discussion is causing me to experience a completely new sort of feeling, a feeling emanating in the area of my groin, and I'm enjoying every glorified moment. Okay, 12 years old, the hormones are flaring up at this stage. Well, if you've never French kissed a girl before, then I'll have to teach you, won't I? Is Gina's reply that I tell her I've never done such a thing before. Suddenly, I feel wetness in my pants. It's without a doubt one of the nicest feelings I've ever had. Gina has my full attention now. Bugger the cricket. I don't want this moment to end. She's wearing a tiny white top and a short skirt from which two long, beautiful legs tumble out. I am beside myself with desire. Gina ends with what has been an incredible moment for me by whispering, "See you tomorrow," in my ear. That night, I find it difficult to sleep. Gina occupies my thoughts, in spite of enduring a sleepless night. A happy sleepless night, I should say. I'm all cock-a-hoop early the next morning, so much so that I find myself ringing the doorbell of the Harper's residence at 9 a.m. That's quite early. If I get a child knocking at my door now at 9 a.m., I won't be happy at all. Freddie lets me in and leads me to his bedroom. It's dimly lit. The sun's rays find it difficult to break through the thick curtains covering the window. The room smells moldy, same as mine. That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's what you get when your folks are part of a lower income working class. Within seconds, my eyes adapt to the low light. The twins, Bryce and Mickey, are on Freddie's double bed along with another guy named Jock. Jock is 17, the same age as the twins. All three are engaged in a game of play wrestling on the bed. Freddie and I stand to one side, observing the proceedings. My thoughts are elsewhere. I'm dying to ask where Gina is, but I can't do that right now. It's then that I pick up something strange. Jock is lying face down on the bed with Mikey on top of him. Mikey suddenly starts to rub his lower part of his torso against Jock, immediately following this up with 3 quick thrusts on his hip. Jock breaks free, clearly upset at Mickey's behavior. Yeah, I don't think that's part of wrestling either. Anyway, are you a f***ing monkey or what? Bumping against my ass like that with your Jock yells. Yes, Mikey throws back with a smile on his face. It appears as if Mikey has driven some sort of pleasure out of this. His expression of contentment verifies this impression. He enunciates his final exit from the house by banging the front door shut. The sound reverberates throughout the premises. I'm stunned, but the 3 Harper brothers doesn't seem in the least concerned. The noise of the slamming door brings the brother's stepmother to the bedroom. She's a young woman, pretty but sad. She's always sad. I'm not sure why. At that moment, all she does is glare at us. Then she leaves the room. Then Gina enters. My spirits lifts instantly. Her long blonde hair is wet. She must have got out of the bath. Our eyes meet and I get the impression that she's glad to see me. I'm feeling uncomfortable in the room, so I suggest to Freddie that we go play some cricket in the backyard. He agrees. There's no need to invite Mickey or Bryce for a game. They never play any sports with the boys in the neighborhood. Oh, well, I can imagine why. If this happened to one boy, I wouldn't think it's the first time, especially if there was other people in the room. So I would think there's a few boys that doesn't want any physical contact with them. And then Mikey, who answered yes to the question. Was that just a way to aggravate that jock even more? Or was there any truth behind that? By the time Gina emerges from the house, Freddie and I are well into the game. The sight of her gives me the courage to suggest a break. Freddie agrees and disappears into the house. Gina's wearing a tight-fitted white V-neck shirt, no bra. I can't hide the bulge of excitement pressing against my shorts. She signals for me to follow her, and we go into the basement. Okay, so this girl clearly, at 15 years old, knew what she was doing, especially wearing what she was wearing, and then signals for him to go down to the basement. It's dark and damp inside, but I don't care. 6 cement pillars support the weight of the house above. Gina leans against one. I walk up to her and press my body against hers. And this is already real difficult for me to read. I mean, it's young kids and young kids explore, but at this stage, it's not something I would want to picture because one of my boys currently is 12 years old and it's definitely not the scene I want to see him in. You need to roll your tongue against mine, she whispers in my ear. No need for me to reply. I just follow her lead. Never before have I experienced such a wonderful, warm, intensely satisfying feeling. We can do it again tomorrow, she says afterwards. I'm really looking forward to it. She pulls me closer and I kiss her again. Suddenly, my world of intense pleasure comes to an abrupt halt. The twins catch Gina and I French kissing. They came into the basement without the two of us noticing. Well, I would think it's probably better that they find you and not the mum or, well, the stepmom or the dad. What the f*** is happening here? Bryce yells. F*** out of here, Gina, right now, Mickey screams in a high-pitched voice. Okay, so no, they didn't want to get caught at all. And they weren't supposed to do things like this in the first place anyway. Gina's off in a whiff. I'm alone with the twins and I'm nervous as hell. So you're trying to fuck our sister, aren't you? You're a little prick, Mickey says scornfully. No, Mickey, it's not like that, is all that I can offer in return. Don't fucking lie to us. We saw what you were doing, you little cunt. He blunts out angrily. I'm hoping that they're going to turn this into a joke where we all walk away laughing. But not so. Pull the little prick's pants down. Let's see what happened, Bryce orders. Oh goodness. And again, this is turning south very, very quickly. For someone to be angry that you came to see something like this is one thing, but then to pull the pants down is a whole other ball game. Mickey proceeds to pull down my pants as well as underwear to below my knees. 2 17-year-old guys making a mockery of me. Suddenly, without any provocation from my side, their mood changes to one of violence. Mickey strikes me across the face with a flat hand. It stuns me somewhat. Thereafter, he immediately places me in a head grip and starts choking the life out of me. With gasping air, I plead to him to stop. It's all a mistake, I desperately cried out. Then Bryce joins the fray. I feel many hands around my body, trying to hold me still. I'm not sure what their intentions are. If their aim is to beat me up, why aren't they raining blows on my face and my body? It's more like a wrestling match between them and me. But I'm fighting for my life. These dudes are serious. Gasping for air, I feel the energy being slowly drained from my body. My lungs are on fire. Eventually, one of them managed to clamp my head and neck between his knees, holding my limbs and arms still at the same time. I'm staring at the ground. The other twin removes what's left of my short pants and underwear from the lower part of my body. We're going to fuck you silly now, you little cunt. The twin who's occupying a position behind me states breathlessly. Oh, goodness. Geez, if I had a pit in my stomach earlier, there's definitely one now. What happens next causes me to cry out to God for help, begging Him to make them stop. It feels like the lower half of my torso is being ripped apart. The twins take it upon themselves to switch positions, holding my limp carcass in the air. I can bear this no longer. I call out to God again to help me. Thankfully, He answers my prayers. I slip into a world of darkness. No more fear, no more pain, complete nothingness. And that's so often that's being described when stuff like this happens, that someone just leave their own body. I'm not sure how long this all lasts, but the resurgence of a searing pain rouses me from unconsciousness. Guys, just imagine that. This happening to you and the pain and everything is so bad that you actually fall unconscious. I'm alone, thank the Lord, spread out on the cold basement floor with the lower part of my body unclothed. My neck aches like hell, but that's nothing in comparison to the feeling of my lower torso. I'm burning up as if red-hot flames are licking away at my exposed skin. I'm scratching around to retrieve my torn and damaged pants and underwear. I need to cover my body. I'm finding it difficult to walk. I hobble painfully out of the basement and exit the backyard via a small gate, giving access to a lane. It's raining. What appeared to be purple droplets of rain lash out at me as I struggle to find my way home. I tell no one what has happened, fearing that if I do, my stepfather will knock the hell out of me for allowing this to happen. Even when someone else in the neighborhood complained about the twins to his parents, who rushed to the cops, who then came to question my parents, I kept quiet. I was terrified of being tagged as kids are cruel. That stigma would not wash off easily. And that's definitely what happens. I mean, there's a huge statistic that there's in fact more boys being abused in this way than girls, but they just don't report it, and one of the big things are the stigma going with it. I never found out how the investigation ended. The twins' father murdered the stepmother a short while later. He was arrested and released on bail. That's when he and his children moved out of the neighborhood. The newspaper carried an article many months later stating that the father had been acquitted on the murder charge because the stepmother died of a heart attack. Some years after that, I heard that one twin had undergone a sex change operation paid for by one of the richest men in town. Wow. I don't think that name of the richest man will ever be in this book, but let's see. Back then, I was too young to understand the legal implications of what I had experienced. I blamed myself for the attack, believing that what I was doing with Gina provoked the twins into teaching me a lesson. I've lived with this secret for a long time. And that's also the thing with victims. They always feel that they are to blame. If they didn't do this, then that wouldn't have happened. And it's not like that. Memories of that incident in the Harper's basement often churns in my mind on those long drives with my stepfather. It intensified my hatred of him and my wish that he was dead. Nevertheless, the beatings continued. My mom eventually divorced my stepfather after all the kids had left the house. He killed himself a short while later. The bastard jumped off a chair with one end of the rope secured around his neck and the other end tied to a roof beam. He wasn't mourned, especially not by me. And that's the end of this chapter, and we won't take it any further than this for this episode. So although we didn't learn much about what happened to the boys of Bird Island, we definitely came to know Max, and I think we would be able to understand his decisions further in the book with this. At this stage, I really feel traumatized by this, and I actually don't feel up to it to share any extra thoughts. Maybe while I'm editing, I'll do that, but for now, I think this is it. Until next time, bye.